Kindness guarantees a good life. That's the lie they embroidered on your pillow while you slept. And maybe you believed it. I did too. Until I woke up one day and realized kindness doesn't guarantee a good life. It guarantees you'll be first in line to get devoured with a polite thank you. Welcome, dear friends, to another stroll through uncomfortable truths here at Buddhist Wisdom for the Elderly, where we mix enlightenment with a little necessary mischief. Today, we're peeling back the smiley sticker slapped over reality. We agree kindness is sacred, but without cunning, it's like offering yourself to wolves wearing a free hug sign. Stay with us, because scattered through your ordinary days are secret lessons you've probably missed. Why being nice can hurt, how silent patience wins wars, and why smiling like a Cheshire cat might just save your soul. Each part of today's journey will gently kick you awake. The phrase we've been tricked by, why it quietly hurts you, a real-world story you'll feel in your bones, and what wiser path a Buddhist with teeth would walk instead. And if you learn only one thing, don't miss our part about strategic patience, the ancient weapon that can make you untouchable, while the impatient world self-destructs. Like, subscribe, and help us reach 1,000 enlightened troublemakers, so we can keep making wisdom a little less boring and a lot more useful. Let's begin. Part 1. Goodness without awareness is self-sabotage. Let's start with a painful little riddle. What do a kind deer in a forest full of wolves and a pure-hearted elder in a world full of opportunists have in common? Answer: neither one lasts very long. Both get eaten, politely, quietly, with just enough ceremony to make it seem like fate instead of foolishness. You see, the world doesn't punish goodness. It punishes unguarded goodness. There's a massive difference between being good and being edible. Nobody tells you this as a child. Instead, they hand you the golden rule like a piece of candy. Be nice, and nice things will happen to you. But they forget the fine print, unless you're surrounded by hungry creatures who mistake your kindness for a buffet. Somewhere deep in your life, if you're honest, you felt it. You offered help and got burdened. You forgave and got used again. You were honest, and someone smarter weaponized your honesty against you. Buddhists have a quiet way of saying it. Compassion without wisdom is bondage. It's a beautiful trap, a golden cage, and if you're not careful, you'll decorate it yourself, hang little inspirational quotes inside it, and call it a virtue. True compassion, the kind that doesn't destroy you, comes wrapped in awareness, in seeing the world clearly without letting it shatter your heart. Because make no mistake, there are people out there who will drink from your kindness like it's a public fountain, and when it's dry, they'll walk away without even a thank you. Not because they're evil, because that's what thirsty people do when they find a free source. If you don't know this, if you don't accept this with a calm smile and a sharp mind, then kindness will cost you far more than cruelty ever would. Here's a little story. There was once an old woman in a small town, loved by everyone, praised as the heart of the community. Every Christmas, she would bake cookies for the neighbors. Every summer, she would lend money to the struggling families who just needed a little help. Every time someone needed a ride, a favor, a last-minute babysitter, she said yes. One day, she got sick. Really sick. And you know what happened? Nothing. No visitors, no casseroles, no thank you cards. The town she had carried on her back barely noticed she was gone. Because she had trained them, not maliciously but blindly, to expect her goodness as a given, to see her love as a vending machine, to treat her compassion as a public resource, not a rare gift. She wasn't betrayed, she was invisible. She had given so much of herself away so freely, so automatically, that when she needed something back, there was nothing left to give her. This isn't cynicism. This is nature. Even beautiful rivers dry up when there's no rain. Kindness without awareness is just a long, slow leak, and one day, you'll wake up wondering where all your life went. So if you feel yourself growing invisible, if you feel yourself drained, unappreciated, taken for granted, don't just blame the world. Blame the idea that goodness alone is enough. Because goodness without awareness is like lighting candles in the middle of a hurricane. Noble, poetic, and absolutely doomed. Today, you will learn to protect your light, not by hiding it, but by learning how to use it wisely. You're not here to be a martyr with good Yelp reviews. You're here to be a wise force of nature. Let's move deeper. Part 2. The art of weaponized kindness. If kindness alone isn't enough to survive, then what do? Abandon it? Ditch it in some dark alley next to our childhood dreams and first love letters? No, we sharpen it. Kindness isn't the problem. Stupid kindness is the problem. And most of us, bless our soft little hearts, have been doing kindness the way a fish does taxes, badly, and with no clue what's happening. Real kindness, the kind that saves worlds and topples tyrants, isn't passive. It's strategic. It's weaponized. Weaponized kindness is when you decide who gets your time, who gets your trust, who gets your help, who gets a polite smile, and nothing else. Because newsflash, not everyone deserves access to your softness. When you treat everyone the same, you end up throwing pearls to pigs, and pigs don't know how to say thank you. Buddhist teachers have a sharp way of putting it. Compassion without discernment is like offering medicine to the healthy and poison to the sick. Translation: stop handing out your soul like free samples at the mall. Here's the secret. Kindness is most powerful when it's exclusive, when it's intentional, when it's given from a place of choice, not obligation. You don't become less kind by being selective. You become more powerful, more respected, more confusingly magnetic. There's an old Zen saying, to be kind to all is to be kind to none. Because when you say yes to every desperate hand, you say no to your own energy, your own peace, your own deeper purpose. Imagine this. You walk into a room, you're smiling, warm, radiant. People feel your kindness like sunshine, but it's obvious you're not giving it away for free. You're not desperate for approval. You're not flinging hugs like a confetti cannon. You're standing there, strong and open, but choosy. That's not cruelty. That's economy. That's weaponized kindness. It says, I am good, but I am not yours. It says, I will help you if it doesn't cost me my soul. It says, I will love the world, but not at the price of disappearing from it. And oh, how the world starts treating you differently when they know you're good. But also dangerous to mess with. Think about it. Would you treat a tiger the same way you treat a kitten? No, because a tiger can purr and rip your head off in the same 5 minutes. That's you now. Kindness should be wrapped in velvet, but the hands inside the velvet should be steady, strong, and very, very capable of saying no. Remember this. True kindness is given from strength, not weakness. True generosity has boundaries, not apologies. True goodness chooses its targets carefully, like an archer chooses their shot. So if you've been scattering your kindness like birdseed on a windy day, stop. From now on, you aim it like an arrow. The world respects kindness, but only when it knows you can also walk away smiling, leaving behind only the echo of your footsteps and a faint scent of tiger in the air. Part 3. The Cheshire Smile Strategy. Let me tell you a little secret about power. The people who smile the most aren't always the kindest. Sometimes they're just the best armed. A smile, when used correctly, is the most disarming and the most alarming weapon you can carry. But not just any smile. No. You need what I call the Cheshire smile. You remember the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, don't you? That unsettling, wide, floating grin? Friendly, charming, and somehow absolutely terrifying? That's the smile you need to master. The Cheshire smile says, I know something you don't know. I'm happy to help you or haunt you, depending on how you behave. I'm enjoying this little game far more than you realize. It's the smile of someone who cannot be read. And in a world built on assumptions and easy labels, unreadability is invincibility. Here's the trick. You stay kind, you stay open, you stay smiling. But nobody ever knows exactly what you're thinking. You listen more than you speak. You respond slower than people expect. You agree politely while your mind is busy calculating escape routes and soft spots. The Buddhists talk about the empty mirror, being present, reflective, but holding on to nothing. The Cheshire smile is the street-smart cousin of that idea. Reflect everything, absorb nothing unnecessary, and reveal only what you choose. Imagine being the older woman at the community event, sipping her tea, smiling warmly, and everyone instinctively straightens their posture when she walks by. Not because she barked orders, not because she demanded attention, but because nobody can quite tell what she's thinking. Is she pleased, judging, plotting? They can't tell. And that mystery, that small gap between certainty and guessing, creates power. In that uncertainty, respect is born, because when people can't predict you, they can't control you. And when they can't control you, they either respect you or fear you. Either way, you win. Here's the darkly funny thing. The Cheshire Smile doesn't even require changing who you are. It just requires changing how much you reveal. You don't have to fake anything. You just have to withhold a little. You don't have to lie. You just have to let people wonder. You don't have to harden your heart. You just have to stop handing them a user manual to your emotions. You become like a locked garden. Beautiful. Inviting. But with tall walls and a gate that only opens when you choose. The old way was oversharing, over-explaining, being terrified someone might misunderstand you. The new way is smiling warmly, speaking less, letting people wonder what you're capable of. And trust me, the wondering will serve you better than any explanation ever could. The world does not reward the obvious, it rewards the intriguing. From now on, be the smile they can't quite figure out, the soft eyes that hide sharp calculations, the kindness that makes them wonder if they've earned it or if they're about to lose it. Be the Cheshire Smile, silent, smiling, deadly, if necessary. Part 4. Scarcity makes you sacred. Let's be brutally honest for a second. The more people can reach you, the less they value you. It's ugly, it's unfair, it's absolutely true. You could be the wisest elder in the village, you could bake the best cookies, tell the funniest stories, and offer the warmest hugs. But if you're always available, you might as well wear a sign that says, "Free emotional labor, please abuse at will." Humans are ridiculous creatures. We chase what's scarce. We ignore what's abundant. We value what we have to earn. Even Buddhist monks, those masters of humility, don't spend their days knocking on your door, asking if you want some enlightenment. They sit quietly on mountaintops and wait for you to crawl up there, gasping for air, begging for a sip of wisdom tea. Why? Because scarcity creates sacredness. If they handed out enlightenment on street corners like free samples, you'd toss it next to your junk mail and forget it by lunch. The same is true for you. If you're always there, answering every call, replying to every text, showing up to every awkward birthday party where even the dog looks embarrassed, then you become background noise, expected, exploited, forgotten. There's a saying, the gods demand sacrifice not because they need it, but because humans need to learn to value the sacred. You must train people to value your time, your energy, your presence. And training doesn't happen through lectures, it happens through absence. Disappearing strategically, not out of anger, not out of cruelty, but out of a deep, serene understanding. You are not a resource, you are a blessing. Here's a funny and a little sad story. Old Mr. Bennett lived alone at the end of the street. For years, he was everyone's errand boy. Need your lawn mowed? Mr. Bennett. Need your packages picked up? Mr. Bennett. Need your cat rescued from the roof? Mr. Bennett. And he loved it. He thought it made him indispensable. Until one year, he broke his hip. Suddenly, Mr. Bennett couldn't run errands anymore. And you know what happened? The neighbors who once needed him disappeared faster than ethics at a political fundraiser. Turns out, they didn't love Mr. Bennett. They loved the convenience of Mr. Bennett. And when the convenience was gone, so was their affection. Now, imagine if Mr. Bennett had been less available. Imagine if he had been the mysterious, occasionally generous old man who helped once in a blue moon, but spent most of his time gardening behind a tall, enigmatic fence. People would have chased him. They would have valued his presence. They would have missed him before he was even gone. Scarcity doesn't make you selfish, it makes you sacred. It whispers to the world, my time is a rare thing. My presence is a gift, not a given. And suddenly, the invitations are more respectful, the conversations are more genuine, and the people who really care stay. Here's your darkly funny takeaway. If you want to be treated like a temple, stop acting like a 24-hour convenience store. Learn to close your doors sometimes. Learn to make your presence feel like spring rain, unexpected, beautiful, and unforgettable. Because in the end, you teach people how to treat you, not through what you say, but through what you allow. And now, my friend, it's time to become gloriously scarce. Part 5. Strategic Silence. The most terrifying sound. They say silence is golden, but that's a lie. Silence is a loaded gun. A well-timed silence can rattle more bones than a scream, break more hearts than a betrayal, and win more battles than 1,000 perfect arguments. Because here's the ugly truth. People are terrified of what they can't hear. They're comfortable with noise. They're addicted to it. Noise fills in the terrifying blanks of their own minds. Noise keeps everyone pretending they know what's happening. But silence? Real, patient, smirking silence? Silence forces people to listen to themselves. And what they hear usually scares the hell out of them. Now let me ask you, when's the last time you stayed silent? Just a few beats longer than politeness allowed. You probably noticed it immediately. Awkward fidgeting, nervous laughter, people blurting out things they didn't mean to say. Someone rushing to fill the dead space with nonsense. Because silence, used correctly, is not absence, it's pressure. It's a hand around the throat of the conversation, squeezing ever so gently. Strategic silence isn't about being passive. It's about actively making people reveal themselves. Here's a little parable. There once was a very clever monk who was invited to a royal court. The king, trying to embarrass him, asked, "Tell me, wise monk, what is the greatest sound?" The monk smiled and said nothing. The court erupted in laughter. The king sneered, but slowly, uncomfortably, the laughter died down. The room fell into a hush so thick you could taste the fear. The king shifted in his throne. The monk smiled wider. Finally, the king whispered, "I understand. The greatest sound is the silence that reveals everything." The monk said nothing still. And in that moment, the monk won a kingdom without lifting a finger. Here's the brutal modern version. Talk too much, and you explain yourself into a corner. Reveal too much, and you hand people a detailed map to all your soft spots. Over-justify, and you shrink in their eyes faster than a cheap t-shirt in hot water. Strategic silence is about control. In an argument, say little. Watch the other person dig their own hole. In negotiations, let silence hang so heavy, they start offering more than you asked for. In conversations, listen carefully, speak minimally, and leave your real opinions wrapped up in mystery. Because here's what happens in the dark spaces. People fill silence with their own projections, their own guilt, their own fears, their own confessions. You don't have to be loud to win. You have to be unnerving. Silence says, "I don't owe you an explanation. I don't need to prove myself. I'm not panicked, you are." Here's the darkly funny part. The louder someone gets when you're silent, the more power you're stealing from them without lifting a single finger. Silence is not weakness. Silence is the strongest flex known to humankind. The next time you feel the itch to over-explain, to defend yourself, to fill the dead space with nervous words, stop, breathe, smile faintly, and say absolutely nothing. Let the weight do the work. Because the person who can stay silent the longest wins. Part 6. Predictable goodness is a map to your own destruction. Here's a riddle for you. What's easier to rob, a fortress with hidden traps, or a house where the front door is always open? The cookies are labeled "Help Yourself" and the security alarm is permanently set to "Trust everyone." Yeah, you see the problem. And yet, that's exactly what predictable kindness turns you into. Predictable people are walking maps to their own destruction. Kind-hearted? Predictable. Forgiving? Predictable. Always smiling, always understanding, always available, always agreeing? Predictable. And in this world, a world filled with opportunists, manipulators, and professional users, predictable kindness is the same as handing out VIP passes to your downfall. Let me tell you a sad little story. There was a sweet, generous uncle, the one everybody loved at family reunions. Always the first to lend money, always the first to babysit, always the last to be paid back or thanked. At first, he was the family hero. By the end, he was the family wallet, the family emotional garbage can, the family guaranteed yes when everyone else said no. And when he finally needed help himself, guess what? Everyone else was too busy, or traveling, or dealing with a lot right now. It wasn't personal, it was inevitable. Because when people know exactly how you'll react, when they know you'll forgive, overlook, and sacrifice without question, they stop valuing you as a person. You become a predictable function, a background app running in their lives, useful until you crash. Here's the Buddhist slap-in-the-face version. Attachment to identity, even a good identity, is suffering. Translation: if you're attached to being seen as the nice one, the reliable one, the forgiving one, you will be exploited by anyone smart enough to notice. Kindness is beautiful, but predictable kindness? That's suicide, politely gift-wrapped and tied with a bow. Because kindness when automatic isn't even kindness anymore. It's just an operating system, something people learn how to hack. So what's the solution? Strategic unpredictability. Not chaos, not cruelty, just unpredictability. Maybe today you say yes, maybe tomorrow you say no, maybe you offer forgiveness, maybe you offer silence, maybe you bake someone a pie, maybe you give them a stare so cold it should come with a polar bear warning. The point isn't to be mean. The point is to be unreadable. To make people work for your kindness, to make them value it, to make them uncertain whether they'll get the warm hug or the politely distant nod. Because uncertainty breeds caution, and caution breeds respect. When people can no longer assume you'll say yes, suddenly your yes becomes a priceless gift, not a free refill at the soda machine. And respect is the soil where real, lasting love grows. Predictable kindness is a convenience. Unpredictable kindness is a treasure. Choose which one you want to be. Part 7. Strategic patience. The last superpower left. Everyone wants to move fast these days. Get rich fast, find love fast, win arguments fast, heal trauma fast, eat fast, regret faster. We live in a world addicted to speed, a world that treats patience the way a sugar addict treats vegetables, suspiciously, resentfully, and only when absolutely necessary. But here's the cruel joke the world won't tell you. Speed impresses amateurs. Patience wins empires. In fact, if you learn nothing else from this entire journey today, learn this. The last great superpower left in this frantic world is strategic patience. Not the sad, sighing patience of the defeated. Not the "I'll just sit here until I die" patience. Not the "maybe if I suffer long enough someone will reward me" patience. No, I'm talking about sharp, calculating, playful patience. The patience of a hunter who knows the prey will come closer if he just breathes quieter. The patience of a monk who knows enlightenment blooms slowly like an ancient flower. The patience of an elder who smiles when the young ones rush around, breaking their own toys. Let me tell you a true story. There was once a very old businessman, retired, forgotten by the public. While the world chased new trends and threw fortunes at the latest fads, he simply sat on a few boring investments: oil, water, food production. For decades, he barely made the news. People thought he was a dinosaur, slow, irrelevant, lost in time. Then one year, when the world got shaky, when inflation exploded, when the new economy started eating itself, suddenly his boring investments were gold mines. He wasn't smarter, he wasn't faster. He just knew how to wait. In the end, he didn't have to chase fortune. Fortune limped to his door, exhausted, and begged for a cup of tea. Patience isn't passive. It's the highest form of strategic aggression. It says, "I will not move until moving benefits me. I will not fight every battle, only the ones that matter. I will not shout over fools, I will wait until they exhaust themselves." In Buddhism, patience, shanti, isn't just about being nice while people throw rocks at you. It's about staying immovable, like a mountain under a thunderstorm. The storms pass, the mountain remains. Here's your darkly funny truth. Every fool who races ahead clears the landmines for you. Every desperate manipulator reveals their whole plan early. Every opportunist burns their bridges in a panic. All you have to do is sip your tea, smile quietly, and wait for the dust to settle. And when it does, you walk forward calmly, while everyone else is busy patching up their self-inflicted wounds. From today forward, remember, don't race idiots. Don't argue with chaos. Don't waste energy trying to keep up with people sprinting toward cliffs. Let them go. You're not running a sprint. You're playing the long game. Because the world belongs, not to the fastest, but to the ones who know how to stay still just long enough to see clearly when others cannot. Patience isn't waiting for crumbs. Patience is waiting until you can own the whole damn bakery. Well, if you've made it this far, congratulations. You're no longer edible. Today, you learned that kindness without awareness is like sending love letters to wolves. You learned that smiling sweetly while sharpening your invisible claws is an art form. You saw why disappearing sometimes makes you priceless. You felt the heavy, glorious power of silence. You realized that predictability is not loyalty, it's suicide. And you discovered that patience isn't passive suffering. It's the secret weapon of monks, hunters, and very clever old women everywhere. The world didn't change today. It's still full of opportunists, noise, and fools sprinting off cliffs. But you're a little less obvious, a little less available, a little more deliciously dangerous. And that is worth smiling about. If you smiled, winced, or had an uncomfortable laugh somewhere along the way, then please like this video, subscribe, leave a comment telling us which lesson hit hardest, and share it with another wandering soul who still thinks kindness alone is armor. Help us grow our little temple of mischievous wisdom here at Buddhist Wisdom for the Elderly, where we believe enlightenment should come with a good punchline, and maybe a hidden dagger, just in case. Until next time, stay kind, but stay sharp.